All right, let's talk about multi-touch in iOS. If you're an iOS developer, you know the drill. Handling one finger is a piece of cake, but the second you add another finger to the mix, well, things can get messy fast. In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on those complex multi-touch interactions in UIKit and give you the confidence to build some really amazing user experiences.
So what's the deal? Why does adding just one more finger suddenly feel like a huge leap in complexity? Well, the reason is actually pretty simple. iOS tracks every single finger all on its own. It doesn't see a pinch or a rotate gesture. No, it just sees two completely separate points on the screen, each with its own path and its own story. And that right there is both the challenge and the opportunity.
Okay, so to crack this code, we need to kind of get inside UIKit's head. The real key to managing multiple touches isn't about memorizing a bunch of complicated formulas. It's about understanding a few core ideas about how UIKit actually sees, packages, and then delivers all that touch information to your app. So let's dive in and look at the secret ingredient that makes all of this possible. Once you get this, I promise, everything else is going to click into place. The absolute most important concept to grasp is this thing called a UITouch object. The best way to think of it is like a unique digital name tag. The instant your finger makes contact with the screen, UIKit creates a brand new UITouch instance just for that finger, and that little name tag sticks with it for its entire journey. Okay, so if you've got multiple fingers on the screen at the same time, how does your app get all those little UITouch name tags? Well, UKit is pretty smart about this. It doesn't just throw them at you one by one. Instead, it bundles them all up. In methods like touches began, it delivers a set that contains every single UITouch object that just appeared in that one moment. And this lifecycle, this is crucial. That UITouch object we're talking about, it's persistent. It is the exact same object that gets passed to touches began when your finger lands, touches moved as you drag it across the screen, and finally touches ended when you lift it off. That persistence is the magic that lets you reliably track one finger's path without ever confusing it with another. All right, enough theory. Let's get our hands dirty. Now we're going to walk through how you can take full manual control over all these touches to build something completely custom. You know, it really just boils down to 3 simple steps. First, you've got to enable it. Second, you have to track it. And third, you code the logic. That's it. Enable, track, code. Let's break them down. Step 1 is the absolute non-negotiable starting point. It's so easy to forget. By default, a view will only listen to the very first finger that touches it and will completely ignore all the others. You have to explicitly tell your view, hey, I'm ready for more than one finger. Without this single line of code, none of the multi-touch magic can happen, period. Step 2 is where we manage the complexity. Since every finger is doing its own thing, you need a way to keep track of them all. And a dictionary is your best friend for this. You can use that unique UITouch object as a key to store all kinds of information about that specific finger, like where it started, or maybe what color it's drawing with in a paint app. Any state you need to hang on to. And finally, step 3. This is the fun part, where your gesture actually comes to life. This is where you do the math on the touch data you're tracking. You want to make a pinch gesture? You just calculate the changing distance between 2 touches. A rotation? You calculate the angle between them. I mean, this is exactly how Apple's own built-in gesture recognizers work under the hood. You're just building your own from scratch. But you don't always have to build it yourself, and you probably shouldn't. Let's talk about the smart shortcut, gesture recognizers. Because for most of the common interactions, Apple has already done all of that heavy lifting for you. So this brings up a really clear choice. When do you use one versus the other? Well, you should go manual when you need ultimate fine-grained precision, like for a professional drawing app or a totally new custom gesture nobody's ever seen before. For everything else, the standard pinching, rotating, or swiping, just use a gesture recognizer. It's cleaner, way more efficient, and a lot less likely to have bugs. And here's a quick little cheat sheet for you. If you need to detect a pinch to zoom, you just grab a UI pinch gesture recognizer. For a 2-finger rotation, it's the UI rotation gesture recognizer. These classes package up all of those complicated calculations and all the state tracking we just talked about into a simple, reusable object. It's super convenient. So, just to be crystal clear, you should save manual handling for those really special cases where you need that fine-grained control. Think about building a virtual synthesizer where the position of multiple fingers controls different sound parameters, or maybe a gain where a unique 3-finger swipe triggers some kind of special move. For those kinds of things, manual handling is your superpower. Okay, we have covered a lot.
So let's wrap this all up by boiling everything down to the most important principles, the things you really need to remember.
So here it is, the final rundown. Number 1, every finger gets its own unique UITouch name tag. 2, if you decide to go manual, you are responsible for tracking the state of every single one of those touches. 3, for standard gestures, always reach for a gesture recognizer first. It's almost always the right tool for the job. And finally, number 4, use manual handling as a powerful, intentional tool, but only when you truly need that custom control.
And that really is the bottom line, isn't it? Understanding these concepts isn't just some academic exercise. When you really master this stuff, it gives you full and complete control to create some incredibly sophisticated, intuitive, and advanced touch interactions in your iOS apps. So now the question goes to you. With this foundation, what's the first custom interaction, that first unique user experience that you're going to go out and build? Thanks so much for watching.